Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bullion Breakdown. Thanks for joining another episode here. Today I'm going to update you on some information on the implementation of CBDC in Canada. So there has been recently the completion of the public survey that the government had put out for citizens to engage. So there will be some data coming forward in the foreseeable future. In the meantime, there's some pretty good information here. There's a recent survey that has been put out by, what's the company? Let me just check. WealthRocket is the name of the company that put out a survey here in Canada for 1,500 respondents that came through. So, I mean, we're not talking about a huge number, but we are talking about a survey of 1,500 adults, 18 plus, here in Canada. And the survey results showed pretty alarming stuff in my mind, because there was an overwhelming, acceptance of the implementation of digital currency. You can see here 59% are willing to engage somewhat, as it says here, between somewhat willing, very willing, and extremely willing. That's a total, when you add up all those, of 59%. And you can see the breakdown there. So really only 5% are extremely bullish about implementation of CBDC. On the flip side, you can see here 25% are actually not willing at all to engage. So that's encouraging in my mind. I would definitely put myself in that category of the yellow strip there. So interesting stuff going on with regards to this survey, again put out by WealthRocket here in Canada. So I'm also positive to see that really 5% is a fairly low number here. I mean, if I'm honest here, I can tell you it's going to be implemented, and the government here is suggesting that the fiat currency, the dollars, won't go away. It'll be just another payment form. But over time, I feel there'll be an adjustment on that sort of strategy and that communication as more people adopt these new currency methods. So interesting stuff. Wanted to share that. Next thing I wanted to talk about was an article I read on Kitco, more global based. So it was covering a number of other countries, just talking about central banks and their adoption and willingness to engage this space. So let's get into that. Okay, let's take a wider view of what's going on around the world as it relates to central banks and how they're implementing or planning to implement CBDCs. You can see here there has been a recent release of data and insights from a BIS survey. And the BIS is obviously the Bank of International Settlements. Interesting facilitator of cash around the globe. That was actually created coming out of World War II to help some of the varying countries settle their war debt and things like that were going on, sort of structure how that was all going to be paid back after World War II. So interesting entity as it is there. They've released a survey that's suggesting, as you can see here, that 93% of central banks are actively working on CBDC projects, and 24 could be in circulation by 2030. So it's on the horizon, and they are just simply confirming this. You can read further, and I won't go through all the details here, but that's growth from last year from 90%. So there's more engagement across the various central banks into this year with 93%. There's 86 banks responded with questions about whether they're working on retail or wholesale or both types of CBDC implementations. So lots going on there. You can see those 86 participating countries represent 82% of the world's population and 94% of the global economic output. So a really fair representation, across many different countries. 28 of those countries represent advanced economies, or AEs, and 58 from emerging market and developing economies, EMDEs. So really, and that's interesting just to call out for those who aren't aware, what the emerging market and developing economies are doing with CBDC implementation is much more aggressive and forward thinking right now, at least in this phase, than it is in the advanced economies. And you can see Canada and the UK and the US and many other countries, I'm sure, are pushing forward in that advanced economy sector. But again, it is emerging much quicker in the emerging and developing economies there. So interesting stuff here. Really find it interesting to see what is going on around the world. So I'm no expert on CBDC. I'm simply a precious metal stacker, but I do see the connection between my stacking efforts and the money supply and the adjustments and ultimate changes that are coming in all of our futures. So I'm just trying to hedge ahead, trying to learn a little bit. So I hope it's okay that I share this content with you. And I've done so in the past as well. I've actually done 2 videos to date. This would be my 3rd. So go ahead and check those out on the channel. I've highlighted before how the government is positioning promotional material to the upcoming changes of CBDC implementation and how they're sort of communicating to citizens. I focused another video on sort of the politics or the positioning around or the argument for and against CBDC in Canada with the competing political party to the government, with their sort of leader's opinion, and then a response under oath in a hearing from the Bank of Canada and their sort of opinion on the future implementation. So lots of interesting stuff on the channel around that. I hope this was a little interesting. I'm just giving you my own thoughts. And there's definitely stuff going around your market. I know I'm Canadian. If you're not, that's cool. But check your country and see what's going on there, because it's highly likely that your government is working on implementation projects, and they'll be here sooner than later. So best to get up to speed on that. Guys, this has been Bullion Breakdown. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch more content. Hit like, subscribe, notifications, all that stuff is helpful. And by all means, check out more video on the channel. Until next time, guys, stay awesome.